There's a financial habit most people around you treat as mature, responsible, even impressive. It's the thing parents praise. It's the thing recruiters reward. It's the thing your friends quietly compete over. And it's also the reason so many smart people feel permanently behind. That habit is this: optimizing income instead of ownership, chasing raises, stacking credentials, switching jobs every year or two, grinding harder because that's how you move up. It feels productive. It looks ambitious. It even works for a while. Until one day, you're earning more than ever and still feel like you can't slow down. Still checking your bank app. Still worried about the next bill cycle. Still planning your life around the next paycheck. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. Income feels like control. But income disappears the moment you stop showing up. And that's where the trap starts. Because the system rewards effort, but freedom comes from ownership. Most people don't realize they're on the wrong path until they've already committed years to it. And once you see this, it gets very hard to unsee. Idea number 1. The paycheck trap doesn't look like a trap. Let's start with a thought you've probably had recently. If I just made a bit more, things would feel easier. Maybe it's an extra $800 a month. Maybe it's crossing 6 figures. Maybe it's a cleaner job title or a company with better benefits. Totally fair. Totally human. But here's what no one tells you early enough. A paycheck is not stability. It's dependency with a schedule. Your income relies on your health, your relevance, your boss's perception, the company not restructuring, the economy behaving. That's a lot of variables for something that's supposed to equal security. Pause for a second. If your income stopped for 6 months, not forever, just 6, how much of your life would stay intact? Same home? Same routines? Same peace of mind? If that question made you uncomfortable, you're not weak. You're just honest. The problem isn't working for money. The problem is only working for money. Labor scales linearly. You put in hours, you get paid. Ownership scales exponentially. It keeps working after you step away. And here's the subtle part. The higher your income goes, the harder it is to notice the trap. Because now you're not stressed. You're comfortable. And comfort delays awareness. Open loop, if income isn't control, what actually is? Idea number 2, lifestyle inflation is a quiet agreement you never read. Nobody sabotages their future loudly. It happens politely. You earn more. You upgrade a little. You tell yourself you've earned it. Because honestly, you have. Better apartment, better tech, more eating out, subscriptions you barely notice. Nothing reckless, nothing stupid. And that's exactly why it works. Lifestyle inflation isn't about luxury. It's about fixed commitments. Every upgrade quietly raises the minimum income you need just to stay calm. More rent means less flexibility. More subscriptions mean more dependency. More fixed costs mean fewer options. Here's an uncomfortable truth most people avoid. A high income with high obligations is fragile. It looks impressive. It sounds successful. It collapses fast. Quick pause and think moment. If your income doubled tomorrow, would your stress disappear? Or would your lifestyle simply rise to meet it? Be honest, no judgment. Because this is where people get stuck for decades. They assume earning more automatically creates freedom. But without ownership, higher income just builds a more expensive life that demands constant maintenance. Open loop. So what is ownership, without turning into a finance stereotype?
Idea number 3. Ownership is about time, not things.
When people hear ownership, they imagine extremes. Starting a business, buying real estate, running on caffeine and ambition. That's not the point. Ownership isn't about being busy. It's about separating time from income. Ask yourself this. Do you own anything right now that earns while you sleep, grows without your daily input, benefits from time instead of consuming it? If the answer is no, or kind of, but not really, then you're still trading time for outcomes. And again, that's not failure. That's the default. Ownership can be boring. Index funds, equity, quiet systems that compound without asking for motivation. Not flashy, not impressive at parties. Ridiculously effective. Here's the mental shift most people miss. Income pays bills. Ownership buys options. Options to slow down. Options to say no. Options to think in decades instead of pay periods. This is why wealthy people sound calm when markets wobble. They're not smarter. They're not fearless. They're just less dependent on next month's paycheck. Open loop. If ownership is so powerful, why do so many smart people delay it? Idea number 4, the identity problem. This is where it gets personal. Here's the part that usually lands a little heavy. Most people don't avoid ownership because they can't afford it. They avoid it because it challenges their identity. If your sense of worth comes from being the hard worker, the reliable earner, the person who makes good money, then ownership feels passive, almost lazy. There's pride in saying, I earn well. There's less validation in saying, my assets handle that. So people keep optimizing income because it reinforces who they believe they are. Disciplined, ambitious, useful. But here's the uncomfortable mirror. If you stopped earning tomorrow, who are you? If that question makes you uneasy, it's because income has become identity. Ownership asks you to move from being valuable to being strategic, from effort to leverage. And that transition is emotionally harder than learning any financial tactic. Most people delay it not because they don't understand, but because it forces them to redefine success. Open loop. What actually changes when you shift from labor to ownership? Idea number 5. Why the system pushes you toward income. This part matters. The system loves income-focused people. Employers reward productivity. Banks reward predictable paychecks. Society praises visible effort. Ownership, on the other hand, is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up on resumes. It doesn't need daily validation. So the default path looks like this. Work harder, earn more, upgrade life, repeat. Ownership disrupts that loop. It asks slower questions. Will this still matter in 10 years? Does this reduce dependency? What compounds if I stop touching it? These questions don't feel urgent until they suddenly are. And by then, time has already passed. Open loop. So how do you shift without blowing up your life? Here's the calm reframe. Income is not the enemy. Hard work isn't wrong. The mistake is stopping there. Think of income as fuel. Ownership is the engine. Fuel without an engine just burns. When ownership becomes the priority, time starts working for you. Stress becomes optional, not constant. Decisions slow down, in a good way. You stop reacting. You start positioning. This isn't about quitting your job. It's about making sure your job isn't the only thing holding your life together. Ownership compounds quietly. It doesn't demand motivation. It rewards patience and consistency. And that's why it suits people who want control, not chaos. If this video made you slightly uncomfortable, that's good. It means something clicked. If it also made you feel calmer, even better. That's what real financial progress feels like. Not hype, not urgency, clarity. The next step isn't make more money. It's understanding leverage, how systems, assets, and ownership multiply effort instead of consuming it. There's another video on this channel that connects directly to this idea. You don't need more income. You need leverage. That's not a suggestion. It's the natural continuation of this thought, because once you see the difference between labor and ownership, you stop trying to outrun the system. And that's when life finally starts to feel under control.